Welcome, this is Aaron Malik, and today I'm going to talk to you about content marketing turbocharged with AI tools. And in this particular case, we're going to do an introduction to using both ChatGPT and Midjourney to massively speed up your content marketing. So the goal of this exercise, let's just get the slide to move on, is to show you how to create 25 pieces of content that will help you promote your business. How to repurpose and publish that content on social media. And in this example, we're going to use Instagram, but you could use it on TikTok or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And we're also going to publish it on your blog or your website as in longer form content as well. And then we're going to show you how to create supporting graphics for each piece of content, because the internet is a visual medium as well, so it's great to be able to do that. That's where Midjourney is going to come into the program. And then how to complete it all in under 24 hours. Now, the reason I put that in there, I'm not going to go through and show you how to do 25 pieces of content. I'm going to show you a couple as a simple example. But once you understand the process, you should be able to do this very easily in an hour or 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, depending on how efficient you are at this. But once you get up and running and understand the basics, you'll be able to do this in a day, no problems. Just spread out over a day, whatever. So let's have a look at what the requirements are. So obviously, if we're going to use demonstrate ChatGPT, you will need an account. Now you can get a free account, that will suffice. The Plus account, which is the paid upgrade, is preferred. If you're not familiar with the differences between them, the Plus one it costs $20 a month US. I'm going to be doing a demo on a Plus account only because I can't get my free account to log in at the moment. It's having a bit of a hissy fit with me, so you're not going to see a huge amount of difference in terms of the look. You'll need a Midjourney account, and realistically you're going to need a paid one, because once you've used your free 10 or 20 credits, whatever they give you to get you started, then you're going to have to pay. Off the top of my head, I think you're looking at about $10 US a month minimum for that. There are alternative AI image generation tools out there. You can use whatever you like. There are new ones coming out all the time. Like yesterday, Adobe released their new AI tool. My limited exposure to it hasn't impressed me so far, but I haven't had time to get into it, understand it really well. So whenever you're watching this video, there could be way better tools than both of these. You'll need a social media account, obviously. We're going to be using Instagram. As I said, you can publish on any social media account that will accept text and an image. You'll need a website with the ability to add pages or blog posts. We're going to be using a WordPress-based website, which is pretty common out there, but you may have something different. And you may need a photo editor to take the image and crop it from, normally we'll do the standard 16 by 9 landscape format image when we produce them in Midjourney. So you might need to crop it down to a square. I know that Instagram likes square images. If you don't already have something, we're just going to use a Canva account, which you can get an account for free. Once again, we've got a paid account, so you're not going to see any real major differences there. So it really is just a case of being able to take a rectangular image and crop it down to a square one. So that's about as complicated as it gets. Okay, so let's dive in and have a look about it. So initially we want to create your short form content, and this is the content that we're going to publish on Instagram. And to do that, you log into ChatGPT and tell it to create you X number of Instagram posts, whatever that may be. Make sure you mention the social media platform that you're going to be publishing it on, because it does seem to have an idea of how many characters you can put in the post. So Instagram posts tend to be shorter. So I would mention Instagram. And then you're going to tell it a topic of interest, and it needs to be something that's of interest to your potential client base. So the example I'm going to use is for a website I run called The Property Scoop, which is designed for the real estate market, and it provides, it slowly but steadily is growing, provides information for people that might be interested in buying and or selling real estate. So I'm going to be doing some stuff for a real estate agent, and pretend I'm a real estate agent, and I want to create and publish content helping homeowners with giving them some tips on how to improve the value of their home before they sell it. Now, because I'm using Instagram, I'll also ask ChatGPT to provide some appropriate hashtags to use with each post. I haven't yet decided whether those hashtags are the best choice. You're going to have to explore that if you've used Instagram or whatever your social media platform of preference is more than I have. You may need to go in and choose your own hashtags, but at least it gives you some to start with. And I notice I put in here, if necessary, mention your country. Now, what about that? The reason is, at least in Australia where I am, the real estate market terminology is quite different to the US. So if you're watching this video from the US, you will have different terminology. So you might want to mention your country. So you would say something like, tips for Australian homeowners, or tips for US homeowners, or tips for UK homeowners, etc. That, I think, should ensure that you get more appropriate words in the posts that it comes up with. Now, once you've got your posts, you copy paste them into a document like a Microsoft Word doc or a Google Doc or a Notepad. Save them on your computer because you will need to refer back to them and use them. And then you want to go through, read all of the posts, and this is really important if you've not used ChatGPT before. It doesn't always give you the accurate truth or the facts. So you've got to read all the posts, make sure they're accurate and that they're relevant, and you need to delete or edit any that are not suitable. So far, my experience in doing this for the real estate market seems to be pretty reliable, but you don't just go randomly publishing stuff that you haven't read, because you'll end up in trouble. You may find that you have something there that you just don't want to publish. All right. So let's go and have a look at our different platforms and see how they all work. So I'm just going to minimize the screen, and let's see if I can get out of, there we go, get our slides away. So for those of you who haven't used ChatGPT before, it is at openai.com / and you can just go to ChatGPT, which is actually chat.openai.com. So you'll need to create an account first. As I said, you can use a free account. I'm going to be using a paid account. It seems to work fine with free. The main thing with a free account is you won't always be able to use it, because when things get busy, it prioritizes paying customers and you may have to wait for a while. So that could be a bit of a problem. You'll also need a Midjourney account. So if you've never heard of Midjourney before, it is a image creation platform. Now, the system doesn't run on the website. You log into it, you create an account in Midjourney, and what you then have to do is install a tool called, if I just open it down here, called Discord, D-I-S-C-O-R-D. Now, Discord will run on a web browser, but you should actually download and install the application, and that's available for both computers, I think Mac, PC, and also mobile phone. So there's a Discord app. Far better to do it that way. And you can see here I've been doing a few sample images. So what happens is, once you've created your Midjourney account, you connect it up to your Discord account, and then you pretty well almost never need to go back into the Midjourney website, except when you're maybe buying some credits or updating your payment or something like that. And all the action happens in here. All right. Then we've got our Instagram account. In this case, it is the Property Scoop. There's nothing on there to impress you because I haven't been really doing much with it. But what we're going to be doing is posting, and I'll show you a quick example here. So this image here was created in Midjourney. It looks pretty funky and stands out. And then I used ChatGPT to come up with the post and some hashtags for me as well. Now, we're not going to do exactly this, but I just wanted to show you a bit of an idea of what you might see. Next is the website. So we create the content in ChatGPT to start with. We publish it on social media. So we go to Instagram, we publish it there. I also go to my website, which in this case is thepropertyscoop.com, and then I'm starting to publish them as blogs. So you can see here there's a couple of examples. If you have a look at this, this is kind of the end result you're looking for. So that image was created in Midjourney, believe it or not. Looks pretty impressive. And the article itself was actually created in ChatGPT. Now, I haven't gone in and done any fancy editing at this stage, so it might not be that impressive, but that's okay. You can spend some time making them look nice over time. So that's the basics of it. And as I said, if you don't have a Canva account, you can just go to canva.com/photo editors. There's a free one there. As I said, I've got a free one. So all it's going to let me do is just crop a rectangular image, a landscape format image, into a square image for Instagram. And that's it. Okay. So let's jump into ChatGPT. Now this is the paid account, which is called Plus. It does look a little bit different from the free account, added to which this thing at the bottom and this little doobie up the side is not in the free account. These are some extra plugins that I've put in there, so you may not see something that looks anything like this, and by the time you watch this video we could be up to currently version 4 is the most advanced model. You'll probably be operating on 3.5 if you're around the March-April to 2023 timeframe. But you may end up watching this video in a year's time and we could be up to version 5 or 6 or whatever, who knows. So it may look different there, don't freak out. I don't think they're going to change anything massively. So the way ChatGPT works is you type in your request at the bottom and click the little go button here, and then it starts typing. So I'm going to just grab a sample. Okay, so I've got a couple of samples that I've previously written that you can borrow. So what I'm going to do is just grab the first one. So write me and tell it how many posts you want and what platform you want. So if this is going on to Twitter, then say Twitter. So write me 25 Instagram posts with tips on improving the value of your home on a budget before listing it to sell. Please also include 3 to 4 relevant hashtags suitable for the Australian real estate market. So that is going to be a fairly typical. Now, if you're not in real estate, you're a lawyer or an accountant or a retail store or whatever, you have to obviously modify that. But the basics are there. Here's an alternative one I've done before. It might give you a few ideas. It doesn't exactly give you the same results, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend you run with this one first, but it'll give you some ideas. So in this case, it says create a daily Instagram posting plan for an Australian real estate agent who wants to share content for homeowners thinking about selling their home with a focus on providing daily tips on how to improve the value of their home on a budget. The end look of that is quite different to this. So we're going to go with the first one, which is write me 25 Instagram posts with tips on improving the value of your home. Now I've already got that here. So let me just go. Oops. I'm just going to copy rather than me manually do it. So you create a new chat here. I'm going to just use the default. If you have the paid version, I would use version 4 or whatever the latest one is, but the default should be fine. So we just put our mouse down there, we'll right click and paste, and click go. And off ChatGPT goes doing its thing. Now it'll take a little while to pump through these. We're asking it to do 25. What you'll typically find is after a certain point it stops and it just kind of stalls. So what you need to do at that point is basically tell ChatGPT to keep going. So it's starting to see it's stopped at this point. So all I do is just go keep going, and it will either pick up from where it ended or it'll kind of start again. So it doesn't always keep going on the exact same number, but at the end of the day we've asked it to produce 25 of these for us. And then it's some sample hashtags that might be relevant for the Australian real estate market. So all good, happy with those. So the next thing you want to do is open either use a Microsoft Word document or a Google document, or if you're on I'm sure Mac users have this as well, but something like a notepad document is quite handy because we're going to be doing a bit of copy and pasting. So what I'll do is I'll just move that across and I'll open Word. And we'll minimize that. So I'll just grab down to here, right click and copy. If you're on a Mac, this might be different. And then go here and do, now Microsoft Word on PC, I'm assuming it's the same with the Mac, gives you 3 different pasting options: keep source formatting, merge formatting, or keep text only. So you don't want to use this one, the first one, the second one, or the third one. So probably the main reason I would suggest the third one is you'll notice that it doesn't include the numbers next to each item, which is kind of makes it a little bit cleaner when you're copy pasting this into something else later on. So I would choose that one, and then I'll just push a carriage return or 2 in, and we'll go back to here and grab the last 5. Notice the numbering's a little bit messed up, so I wouldn't worry about that. Since we're not showing the numbering in Word, it's all good. It's another reason to use the third option, which is the keep text only. Okay, so we've got that. So what we're going to do is save that, and we'll throw that into, let's just throw it onto the desktop for now. And we'll do IG for Instagram, real estate tips. So you want to come up with a naming convention and or a folder where you can store these files and find them easily. Okay, so that is the first step. So what we need to do now is, you can do a couple of things. You can either start creating the images, or you can start creating the long form content, the blog content. So I would suggest this. So the way I'm going to do this is just go to the first post and just copy that text there. Don't put in the hashtags. Go back to ChatGPT and say something like, turn this Instagram post into a blog post for my website. Flesh it out with more detail and practical advice for Australian homeowners. Make sure I would re-mention the country, because once again, this probably doesn't apply to a lot of things, but in the real estate market it does. Terminology in Australia's real estate market is quite different than the US, so I would say that. And if you're in the US, I'd say US market, UK, etc. So flesh it out with more detail and practical advice for Australian homeowners, plural. I just put a colon, and then I actually don't need to put quotations, and we'll just paste that. And then click go. Now this, you might need to experiment a little bit with this to see if you can find something that you like. It's not always going to get it perfect. The thing to understand about a tool like ChatGPT is that it is not magic, number one. Number two, it's not actually going out and reading the internet live to find the most correct and up-to-date information. They have this little plug-in thing down the bottom does give us web access, and if you go to Bing, ChatGPT is now built into Bing, but what we're not going to do at this stage is assume that it's available. So we've got ourselves a blog post. You can have a look at it. If you're happy with it, great, just grab it, and we're going to copy paste it. So we're just going to do this. Just select the article, copy. We'll go back to our Word document, and we'll just put an extra line there, and I'll just do something like blog, and then right click, and do you want to do that one or that one? So in this case I would use the middle one, merge formatting, because what it does is if it's got bullet points or numbered lists, then it keeps them in that. So we've now got that content there. Now, if you want to make this a little bit easier for yourself to make ID the difference, I would just start putting IG in front of those tabs and go back to here and maybe put IG. Just when you've got a big enough document, it's easier to figure out where to put everything. Easiest way is just to select that and copy it, and then we just go to the front of each of these and paste, paste. And this just makes it a little bit easy because this is going to be a fairly big document by the time we're finished. And it just makes it easy for you to find everything, identify what the differences are. We'll do the same with blog. Now we don't have blog content yet for article number 2 or more, so we'll just do that. So the key with this stuff is to be a little bit organized, to make it easy for yourself to remember where you're at, what you're doing, etc. And we'll do one more just here. Now I'm not going to do the rest of them, even though there's another page, 2 pages of it. That'll do for the moment. Okay. So we've now got ourselves an Instagram post, and we've got ourselves a blog post. All right. This is obviously going to be published on Instagram, and this is obviously going to be published on your website. Like I said, with these kind of tools like ChatGPT, read the content, make sure you're happy with it, edit it if you need to. Don't just throw it up and assume that it's going to be beautiful and perfect. It may have utter rubbish in there, and if you publish that on your website without reading it, you're just going to look like an idiot. The other thing to check for is, and Word spotted this straight away, is spelling differences. So currently Word is identifying the word colour in the US spelling format, whereas I'm in Australia and colour has C-O-L-O-U-R. So I'd go through and make little tweaks like that. And if there's anything else that you want to change, these are going to be little subheadings, so we'll add those in when we paste them into the document. So before we go ahead and publish, the next step we need to do is to create an image for this post. So if we go back to here, the image is going to be on Instagram, and it's also going to be on our blog post as our header image or our hero image, whatever you want to call it. So to do this, what you need to do is go to the post and look at it and say, okay, what do I want an image for? What was the first topic? So you actually need to, at the very least, you need to read the, let's go to Instagram, you need to read this first, just to get a sense of what it's about, and then maybe read the article. What you're looking for is some tips on what the article is about. So in this case, it's talking about first impressions matter, improve your home's curb appeal by adding some potted plants and cleaning up the yard. So in this case, I might, for example, go to Midjourney and say something like, give me a picture of a nice garden in front of a house with some potted plants and a clean yard. Something like that. So, and then have a read there. If it's got any other tips, you might want to do something different. So, a clean and tidy yard. So that's wording that might be important. So, let's go to Midjourney and let's try. Now, if you've never used Midjourney before, the way you create an image is you first start by clicking in the message block down the bottom and do the / sign, and you'll see the frequently used ones. We're always going to start an image with the imagine. So you either type the word imagine or you select it. And once you type that in, you push the enter key on your keyboard, and then you have prompt pop up. And what you want to do is type something in there. So we'll do something like a photo of a clean and tidy yard with some potted plants and a beautiful, let's say a beautiful garden. This, you've got to experiment with this to see what works. So when you first start with Midjourney, you'll probably, once you've got the edit, you push enter. Now, you might say, okay, well, that's great. What we're going to get may not be what you're looking for. So it's really important to get used to the idea of experimenting with this tool, because otherwise you may end up with stuff you don't like. And so I quite often will do 3 or 4 attempts until I'm finally starting to get a result I like. And the way Midjourney works is it initially gives you a sample of 4 different images, 4 squares inside a bigger square, and it's finished pretty quickly. If we click on that, it pops up. Sometimes it takes a minute to load, and you can look at those and go, you know, do I like any of those? Do any of them seem relevant to me? I have to be honest and say that they don't look, if I'm looking at putting my glasses on so I can see, I'm not sure that I think any of them look like Australian homes. So that's something to be aware of when you start experimenting with this sort of stuff. I mean, they're all pretty nice pictures. If I was going to go with one, I would probably either choose this one because it's quite a modern looking house, or maybe this one because it's a more neutral looking house, whereas this looks a little bit fancy and that looks a little bit sort of Mediterranean to me, which is not necessarily what I'm looking for. So it would be one of these two. So just click outside and it goes back. So what you've got at the moment, you've got a squared image. You can't really use it as it stands. So when you've got a picture that you like, let's say we're going to use the bottom one, then you've got these U buttons underneath, U 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is picture, what they do is they upscale the individual image to a bigger size. So this is image 1, this is image 2, that's image 3, and that's image 4. So if I like number 4, I would just click U4. What it does is it's going to upscale it, and it'll go off and do its thing. All right, and sometimes these can take 30 seconds, 60 seconds, you know, depending what kind of image it is, what version of Midjourney you're using, it could take longer. However, there's a couple of things that you want to also look at. First things first, I would probably say something like a photo of a clean and tidy yard with something like an Australian home in front of an Australian home, or a typical Australian home, something like that. The next thing I would do is I would also tell Midjourney to make these images rectangular in nature. So you'll notice here when I click on these are more your standard rectangular images, and you want that size or ratio of image to go into, if I go to the website, those images are sort of this proportion. So I actually have to tell Midjourney to change the dimensions of the image, and it's very easy to do. I'll show you in a minute. And then, as I said, now you can't, at this stage, you can't just say, oh, well, I'll grab this one and I'll upscale it and chop out, I'll just duplicate that and make a rectangular one. You either make a rectangular one or you make a square one. So upscalers work. If we click on that, you can see that there is the image, and that looks pretty nice. It certainly would look great on Instagram. And the way you get hold of the image is you either click on the open in browser button, that link there, and you open it up and you just right click and save the image as, and I've got a folder for all my Midjourney photos. Let's just go to here and I can just drop it in there. Alright, so that's one way of getting it. The other way, if we go back to here, is you can right click on the actual image itself and you can do save image that way and do the same thing. So there's 2 different ways to do that. Now, I don't want a square image at this stage for my final photo. I want a rectangular one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to you can just select the text, because we're going to copy it and reuse it. Right click and copy. We go back to here and /imagine, push the enter key, paste, as in Control V on a PC, I think on Mac it might be Command V. And now I'm going to make some tweaks to it. So first thing I'm going to do is change the dimensions. And the way you do that is you do -AR, that stands for aspect ratio, space 16:9. So your typical landscape, like your videos and your pictures, your HD sized stuff is normally an aspect ratio of 16:9. So if you look at these, now it's not exactly right, but each of those on average, that aspect there is about 16 and that's about 9. If that doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry about it. Okay. The other thing you can do if you, so I'm currently on the latest version of Midjourney, which is version 5. And from my experience, it does do some really nice images. So I'm going to tell Midjourney, make it a version 5 image, because currently the one there is a version 4 one. So we'll do dash dash again, V for version, space 5. By the time you watch this video, it could be version 6 or 7. I don't know. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back a photo of a, let's change this, of the yard of an Australian, let's say modern. You can use it if it's not modern, you can use it different things. Photo of the yard with some potted plants and a beautiful garden. So we don't necessarily have to say clean and tidy. I suspect that saying a beautiful garden is going to do the job anyway. So let's try that. So we just move our mouse to the end and push enter. Now, currently Midjourney takes longer to produce version 5 images. So this could be an extra minute or two. And as I said to you, you might be watching this video when we're at version 6 or 7. No, it's going pretty quickly. Well, that's good. So what we're going to see is whether we get a better one. And we're going to choose one. Now, here's the thing. If you don't like any of the images, you can just go to this little rotating arrow thing. I call it re-roll. You just click on it. It will rerun the same command you had here, and it will give you something different. And you can keep doing that until you find something that you like. You'll notice that it's got a percentage number here as it's updating. You have to wait until it's actually finished. So don't bother clicking on it at 100% until it gets to nothing there, 93% usually you'll see. So we're starting to see now, I can't even see them clearly, but they're starting to see they look a little bit more contemporary Australian type houses. So that is the end result. And let's click on them to open. And yeah, they look fabulous. Really nice, actually. So if you're talking about a nice yard with some potted plants or whatever, one of these pictures is going to be suitable. You need to experiment with the words you put in, because if I change it from a modern Australian home to an old 1960s Australian home, I'm going to get something very different. So I don't know which one you like. I think probably this one, I think. So it's got a nice garden. It's not too fancy. They're all somewhat fancy, but not too fancy. So this, remember, image 1, image 2, image 3, image 4. So what I'm going to do is upscale image 3. So go here and click U3, and it's going to do an upscale. Sometimes the upscales work really quickly, like you saw that took a second. So we'll right click on that. That's not right click, left click on that. That looks awesome. So we're going to choose save image. And I've got my Midjourney folder here and my property scoop images. And I would just say change the name of the image to, Midjourney puts a whole pile of extra stuff in there. I would clean that out and do something like modern Australian home, beautiful garden, something like that. And then we dot the dot, because this is a graphics type, a PNG image. So you usually might be more familiar with JPEGs or JPGs. PNG is just a different one. So we'll do save. And now, something to think about. If you like all those images, I mean, we can upscale all of them and use them for something else. So, you know, it hasn't wasted your time by doing that. So I'm just going to upscale all 4 of them. And as they appear, we could use them for other other tasks or whatever, other blog posts, or other pieces of content. So don't waste a great image if you like it. And going back to here, if you happen to produce unless you tell it with this dash dash or hyphen and hyphen AR space 16:9, unless you change it to that landscape format, you're going to end up with square images. So you could still use each of these just as Instagram pictures. If you want something separate to add on Instagram, it'd be very easy just to do upscales on all of those as well. Okay, so we've got a picture, we've saved that to a folder, and now we're going to go to here, and I'm going to log into the website, and I'm going to paste the picture. So you won't get to see this. I will delete all of this part until we get inside. So okay, so we're inside the admin area for the website. So in WordPress, we're looking for posts. So we just click the All Posts button, and this is where your blog posts go. And we'll just click Add New. Ignore all this rubbish at the top. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy paste the post in here, and we're going to put the image. So let's do the image first because that's the easiest. So we'll go across to the right. Now you may have a different looking version of WordPress. There is a different editing interface. I don't use that version. Let's get rid of that. So you may see something different, but it's going to be relatively similar. So we're looking for something that's set featured image. We click on that and we go to upload media, upload files, select files, and let's find the picture. Where is it? Let's make it a little bit easier to see. Here we go. Modern Australian home, beautiful garden, open. Once it's finished uploading, you just do set featured image, click that button there. And once this picture posts, you will find that it will show up on the front of the page, like I said. So the next step is we go back to our Word doc and we grab our article. So we don't want this bit here, we just want to start there. So mouse and copy, just select the whole thing, copy, go back to here and paste. Now there's a couple of ways of pasting content in here. That one, as you can see when I just did paste plain text, it doesn't put any proper, let's see if I can show you in the visual. It often doesn't put paragraph breaks and all that sort of stuff. So it looks a bit messy. So we'll go back there and we will delete that. And, oops, wrong one. Okay, so when it's in a Word document, you can actually use this little guy here. Just do paste, and there it comes across much nicer. So the editor will clean up the text. So first thing I'll do is go through and say, okay, there's obviously a couple of headlines here. So we're going to, we'll get rid of that. We're going to do add potted plants. We'll just select that text, go in here and choose probably H1 is usually, or heading 1 is usually the top headline of the page. That's the largest one. So your website may have different settings. I'm going to just choose heading 2, but yours might have a different setup. The next one we do is cleaning up the yard. Heading, oops, let's just do a reverse. So the reason that happens is that it needs a carriage return at the end of that, because at the moment it sees that sentence, that word connected to that sentence. So now we've got that. We should be good. Yep. And yep. And we'll go back to here. We'll just have a look and see if there's anything else. Now, did the 1, 2, and 3 copy across? That's what we want to check. No, they didn't. So that's where you have to do a little bit of extra work. So we've got choose plants that are suitable for your climate, consider the size and scale of your plants, add variety to your potted plants. So in this case, you're going to have to select them. Make sure you don't select that and go to here and do numbered list. And it will just put them all into one. And the easiest way to do it is just to put your mouse at the end, click the delete button so it brings the previous sentence, the next sentence backwards, and then choose enter. And what it does is it then creates the second one, and then go to the end, delete, and enter. And we now have our 3 numbered lines or numbered points. And then let's just go back and have a look. And we've got cleaning up yards. We've got 1, 2. We've got 4 of those. So let's look at those. Well, let's go back. So what was it? Remove any clutter or debris. So we'll collect that one and do that. Delete and enter. Delete and enter. Delete and enter. And there is no 5, so we'll have to just get rid of those by turning that off. Okay. There we go. Okay. And that's it. Now, in and of itself, that's a relatively simple post. What I would recommend you do is flesh it out a little bit more. So one thing you could do as an example is if you see something like it says here, choose plants that are suitable for your climate. So let's say we'll go to, I'm in Australia, one of the more popular nurseries around is a company called Bunnings. And we'll go here and we'll do something like potted plants. See what comes up. No, Bunnings has a nursery, obviously. And is there a category? I don't know anything about plants, so if I get this wrong, I apologize. I don't know. Let's say annual flowers. I could be totally embarrassing myself here. Let's say something. Actually, better yet, which is going to the potted plants area. So what I can do is actually grab this web link or the URL, right click and copy, and go back here, and it says plants that are suitable for your climate. Select those words, go to here where the chain is, insert or add a link, paste in that link, and then click this little cog, and make sure that you click this link here, open link in a new tab. So that is for WordPress users. What that means is when someone clicks this link in the web page, it'll open it in a separate page. They won't leave your website. That's really useful to know. And we'll choose update. And then you might say, okay, weed the garden beds. So you could go something like weeding, not mixing, and just see what shows up. And I happen to know this is a well-known brand in Australia, so I'm just going to say, okay, well, I'm going to link to that particular one where it says here, weed the garden beds, and I'm going to add the link to it. Right click and paste, click on the cog, choose open and link in a new tab. So it's always a good idea to put 1 or 2 extra links, either to, once your site gets big enough, start linking to pages on your site that talk about this sort of stuff. But in the beginning, when you're starting with a fresh site, it's good to link to popular, well-known websites to something that's really relevant. And that just, from Google's perspective, makes your site a little bit more attractive. You may want to go in and flesh out some examples. So, you know, if you happen to know, let's say here, it says, for example, you can mix flowers with herbs or foliage plants. Once again, I don't know anything about gardening, but if you do know something and you've got some good tips, you could actually start typing some extra stuff just to flesh that out a little bit more. And what you do is you sort of add a little bit more value to the page, make it a little bit more attractive to the end user who's reading it. So once we've done the basics, we need to add a title. Actually, before we do that, we'll go over here. So all blog posts go under what's called a category, and that defines what are they. So in this case, these are home seller tips. So I'll just select that category. So now we need to go back and come up with a title for the article, and that's really going to come down to what's the article about. So how about this? Keeping your home's curb appeal and tip-top. So so you could say 7 tips. There is 3 there and 4 there. 7 tips for keeping your home's curb appeal and tip-top shape. Let's say something like that. 7 tips for keeping your home's curb appeal in tip-top shape. Something like that. That's not too bad. I've seen worse. Have a think of it. If you're not sure about what to do, go back to ChatGPT, and we've got the article here. So what I would do is go here and say, give me 5 different titles for the above blog post. And notice I said it's turned into a blog post. ChatGPT can read back a certain number of characters. So just try that. This is actually a really easy way to come up with ideas. And the reason I said do 5 and you can do 10 or 20 is you might not like number 1 or 2, but you will look at them and say, okay, are any of them really good? Who's the simple curve appeal to? Yep. Yep. So you know what? I quite like that one. So I would just actually grab that, go back to here, delete my first attempt and paste it in, and now we have an article, an article title. We have a featured image, we have a blog post, we have a few links in here. Let's now publish this and see what it looks like. So publish, and we'll view the post. And there's our beautiful photo at the top, which looks awesome. And there's our new title that we got from ChatGPT. And here's our article, and there's our links. So notice when I click on the links, it opens those pages in a separate window or a separate tab. And the reason you want to do that when you're sending someone off your website is so that your website stays open in the background. If you don't add that little extra thing I showed you, they'll leave your site. You don't want them to do that. So that's a useful little tip. I see a lot of people make that mistake, and it's something that's just built in. As it's quite easy to do for any web, certainly WordPress, but any other web designer. Okay, so that's great. Now let's just see if it might not have got to the home page yet. I don't think I've set them up to do it automatically. Oh, there you go. No, mine has automatically got there. So enhance your home's curb appeal. Easy ways to attract buyers, and then we go to that page. Awesome. So that's the first step. The next step is we go to our friend at Instagram, and we say, okay, I'm going to post that. So we're going to use an image. Now, remembering that we had a rectangular image, that one. So what you can do is just go to Canva. I'm going to, it'll probably try and make me, so I have to log in. Probably the easiest way to do this is to go to Home, and you're looking for let's see where it is, this one here, Instagram post square 1080 by 1080. If you can't find it, just search for it there. But you click on that, and that creates a square shaped template. And all we're going to do is click on Uploads and upload the file. And that's the file we want. Open it. It'll upload it to Canva. Take a little while, don't panic. And then what we do is we just click on the image and it appears over here. So then you want to stretch it out. Just grab the edge with your mouse, click your left mouse button down, stretch it out until you get to the top and stop. Go back down and do the other side and do the same. And we now have square. And what you do then is, if we want to move this around, so if you double click on it, sometimes it's a bit finicky, but double click on it, you should, there you go. So you now can see that, and you can actually grab that and move it left or right. So let's say we go with the more of the garden theme, something like that, and less of the house, because the article is about gardening primarily. And we'll just do click outside, and there we've got our article in a square. And then we go up to share and download. Click the download button, and we now have this article. I would select that by clicking it once, and that will give it the same name. But then what you can do is I would either, usually what I do is put the size in. So for square ones, I always have 1080 by 1080. You can either have it at the front or the end of the title, and that way what that should be is 16 by 9 or something like that. But that just helps me identify them easily, and the name is almost exactly the same. So probably the easiest way to do it, just because of this, when you sort, like if we go and look at this details, you see the files all sorted. So it's useful sometimes to actually have them easily sortable by name. So we'll just select that one. We'll get rid of the PNG, we don't need that, and the full stop, and we'll do -1080 by 1080 and do save. And we now have our image. So go back to Instagram, click on create a new post, select a file from the computer, find our modern Australian home, beautiful garden, 1080 by 1080, click and open. And there we go, looks beautiful. Choose next. Now you can apply filters or not as you want. Personally, I quite like the Midjourney photos, look really nice. I probably wouldn't normally put a filter, but that's entirely up to you. Choose next again. And now we want a caption. So what we do is we go back to our Word doc and we go to our caption, which is what was typed here. We select all of it, including the hashtags. Go back here, paste. And yeah, if you want to add anything to it, tweak it, whatever, that's fine. But I'm pretty happy with that. So the only other thing you might want to try is just push your enter key and say, let's go, actually, what I'll do is we'll just click there, hold the shift key down and push the enter key twice. 3 times actually. So moving it down, if you don't hold the shift key before you push the enter key, it'll post it and share it. We don't want it. So what we're going to do is we're now going to grab the web address for that page. And we're going to go back to Instagram and paste it in there. And we'll hold shift down one more time and enter, so we get a little bit of space there. And what we've done is we've put the website address of people for the article. And I would do something like click to read more, something like that. Maybe we'll do that shift enter again just to make it look a little bit nicer. And pretty happy. If you want to add a location, you can. If you need to do any accessibility information or any advanced settings at this stage, I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to click share. The post has been shared. We'll get rid of that. And now we have it here. So when we click on it, you'll see here. Now notice it says click to read more. The link doesn't work, so you can't put live links into an Instagram post. So maybe change that from rather say to click to read more to just say, you know, read more or something like that, or go here to read more or something. So people figure out pretty quickly they can just copy and paste a, they can just copy and paste a website address or do that, and it opens up the page. So you've done yourself a couple of favors here. You've got a great picture, you've got a nice little caption there, and you don't have to just use what ChatGPT gave you. You could add in more into there. You're telling them that they can get more information here. And then you've got some hashtags, and if you have other hashtags you want to add that you might use regularly, then fantastic, go for it. And we've done it. So we now have a post on Instagram, we have a post on our website, we have an image that matches in both cases. This image is essentially the same as that image, except we chopped off the right side of the house. And we've got a blog post, and so if someone's on Instagram and they read that and they want to get more info, they can go to that website address. So it's a good way to drive people from Instagram back here. Now, just a little tip will make it easier. If you go to a website called bit.ly or bit.ly, you've probably run across this before. This will actually give you a shorter. Now, you do need to create an account. I have one. This will shorten your website address. So I'm just going to log in. So we want this address. So we do right click and copy. Oops, sorry, back to bit.ly. And we go, where are we? Create new. They've changed this all the time. New link. We'll just put the address in there, paste. Okay. Happy with that. We can, if you know anything about UTMs for website tracking, Google Analytics, SEO purposes, you can turn that on if you want, and we'll just say, if that means nothing to you, just ignore this bit. Okay, let's say social, and we don't need not a specific campaign. If you want to put extra information in here, that's fine. And hit enter. Let's just go to the end. Oh, no, it's forcing us to do something. So what's the campaign? We'll just do something like GPT tips. How about that? And enter. And we now have an address which we can copy. So next time, what you do is you use bit.ly to create a short link. So if I just open up a new browser and paste that link in there, what it's going to do is take us to that blog post. And you'll notice I said with UTMs, if that means nothing to you, once again, ignore it. But your marketing person may appreciate knowing that, so we know that a visitor to your website came from that short link, and these are the details. So next time when you post, rather than post first, get the blog post ready, rather than put your text into Instagram, go and get a bit.ly address ready for that, and then do it that way. So if we just, let's just create a new post. We're going to use the same image. That's fine. Next. I'm going to paste the bit.ly link and just go back and quickly grab so we'll just grab the text first, paste that at the top, and then we'll go back and grab the hashtags and paste them under the bit.ly link. And do share. And now what we have is this is a much cleaner looking setup, so they can just grab that link and create it, and off we go. So that's basically the process. You just do that. You've got 25 Instagram posts, and you use each of those to create a blog post in ChatGPT. You use Midjourney to create your images, and you're off and running. And as I said, once you get experience of this, you can put up 10 or 20 articles in an hour or two. Just really easy. You know, instead of having to take an hour just to create 1 or 2 posts, you could now literally pre-schedule a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks worth of content in a couple of hours. So it's just a nice, easy way to do it. Experiment with what you write here if you're not happy with it. So for example, one of the things you might do is you can edit these posts. If I just click on that, I'm going to change this to say, please make the posts humorous. Hopefully my spelling is right here, O-U-S, and witty. Use a conversational tone and add emojis that are relevant. So you can make changes, save and submit, and what it's going to do is go off and do something a little bit different. Now, when you say, make the post humorous and witty, it doesn't always do that. You might need to do a little bit of experimenting until you get the right thing. But you can see it's starting to add emojis, and you can easily copy paste those. Now we'll stop generating, and I'll go back, and I'm going to change this. One other thing to do, remove all quotation marks and item numbers. Just makes it a little bit cleaner. And it ignored me. Welcome to the joys of ChatGPT. It doesn't always do what you want it to do. But experiment with that sort of stuff. You'll find that you will eventually get something that works for you. This tool is changing all the time. So here we are, the 30th of March 2023. When you watch this video, you might find it is completely different, and it will do something you didn't expect, and it's going to be better or it's going to be worse or whatever. The beauty of this is you can keep experimenting. If you don't like the result, tell it something different, regenerate the response, or write a new different quote till you get what you're happy with. Okay. Now I've had a couple of ones. I did it earlier today. I told it to write some Instagram posts that are humorous and using puns. So it used the word pun in everything. If it was a word that could be replaced with pun and then an addition onto it, it did. So it's got a bit of a sense of humor in that respect. So once again, experiment. If you're dealing with a professional audience, you can tell it, use a professional tone, or please make the posts, don't say humorous and witty. You're going to have to experiment with that till you find the voice that you like. But once you've figured out that stuff, and it's going to be different for everyone, you'll find that you can just reuse it over and over and over, and you're going to get some great results. So that is the end of this video. Hopefully you found that useful, and you can get cracking on creating more content. I've got quite a lot of the stuff I've been doing, files on my computer I just haven't uploaded yet, but I'm just going to keep working on this slowly over time. The other thing I would suggest is definitely, after you've got your blog post, go in and flesh these articles out. Add a few more tips in there, add another headline for something different. You're the subject matter expert creating this content. I've been using real estate, but like I said, you could be a lawyer or an accountant or a photographer or whatever. You know the topic better. So if you've got extra anecdotes, you can add extra advice, add on to it. Don't just copy paste what ChatGPT gave you. Click share and be done with it, because that's A, it's lazy, but B, it's far less effective. Google's thoughts on the idea of publishing content made by AI is in terms of getting search engine rankings and visitors to your website, which is large part of the reason for doing this. Google's thoughts are they don't mind if you use AI as long as the content is high value and people get some enjoyment and or entertainment and or value out of it. Just do a Google search. I think just type Google EEAT, I think it is. Yeah, this looks like it. You might want to go and look at, you can either look at Google or you can look at that one. So Search Engine Journal is a good site. How to demonstrate first-hand experience. So read some of these tips and learn how to produce a better article. As it stands at the moment, I don't know what's going on. It looks like my screen is locked up. There we go. As it stands at the moment, it's a little bit tame. You could certainly enhance the value of that. But the beauty of this is that we can pump out 10, 20, 30 of these really easily. And you just start with the Instagram posts or the social media posts or the Twitter posts. And then you flesh them out into an article, and you do most of this through ChatGPT. It just makes your life so much easier. And then Midjourney allows you to produce fabulous looking images. And as I said, we enlarged all of them so you could actually see some of the better ones. And that's it. So I hope you found that useful. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. This will probably be being seen on YouTube, so feel free to drop a question in the comment below. Other than that, go out there and create some great content and start promoting yourself a lot more. You will be amazed at how much easier it is to do this stuff using tools like ChatGPT and Midjourney. And you could be using something totally different in 6 months or a year, so don't feel bad about that. They'll only get better with time, these sort of tools. All right, that's me signing off for now.